crowdfunded $1,000. I feel like I was doing something. So
Me too.
which is exactly
What you
that's
crowdfund?
Man, I did a book and the editing for it. I was just like, hey, investing in this.
Yeah.
GoFundMe. No, I didn't do GoFundMe. I did not Indiegogo. It might have been a crowdfunded site, but I offered my little, you get exclusive this,
There you
exclusive
go.
that, and I was like, man, I got $1,000.
There you
Felt
go.
like I did something. So
That's success.
it is
man.
though, and
That's
I had to
success.
realize like, yeah, because a year before that, you wouldn't have been able to get $200. Like so, and that's what I heard you talking
More
about.
artists should crowdfund though, don't shouldn't they?
Man,
This
there's so
the
many
future.
projects we
Creatives.
can do just
More creatives.
ourselves, just
Yeah.
crowdfunding. You don't need anybody to green light it.
You see the narrative now that's created. That's why coming from that creative space. That's why I'm deep into this business, because a lot of the narratives that was thrown to creatives coming up, especially myself, oh, that's not cool.
Yep.
This isn't this. They're not going to do this. They're not. You need to get put on. You gotta have a cosign. Blah 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 blah. The whole time, like it brainwashes you into
Absolutely.
thinking that's how you have to do it.
I got a homie now suffer from that because he's I was like, dude, just crowdfund it yourself. I was like, you've done stuff with Blue and Exile. It was like, you've got a brand.
Tell your story.
Crowdfund it. He's like, it's gonna make it seem like they can see.
Make it seem like what?
They're gonna make it seem like we're not popping.
Hey, nigga,
You're not.
You're not.
You're not.
But I'm like, dude, if you've got 1,000 followers, but you got 100,000 streams, that means you do have people listening.
But you just hit the nail on the head though, because
We not popping.
the instant somebody asks you to be financially savvy and responsible, look at the interpretation of it. You said it's going to seem like we're not some. Think about what it means that in order to be popular and successful amongst black people and black culture, that you gotta reject things that are good for you and accept things that are bad.
Yeah.
You gotta accept getting put on and signing
Exactly.
95% of your shit
Yeah.
over. But a dude say, hey man,
And
you
that's
can.
the path.
That's the path. It's mind-boggling to me that's what has become popular in our culture. And to be honest, man, that's so when we said Spinach album, we said Black Money, Black Love, Soulful Sound. We're kind of getting right to the point of it. It's like, yo, so your homeboy, right, want to go raise some bread, but then didn't want to. See, that's the money part. That's the it's like literally cash, and we don't think about what cash is often enough. Man, if I give you $100,000 a day, stuff it in your pocket and say, but you can't spend a dime, you're gonna be like, well, this shit was pointless.
What's the purpose?
What was the purpose of
Yeah,
it, right?
what's the purpose?
So if I put $100,000 in your pocket a day, you need to use it. You need to use all of it, in fact,
Yeah, exactly.
on something that's about to be productive and beneficial for you. But we end up playing, and this is why you always just hear me pushing back against like the music industry, because we kind of create this subculture within a larger culture that says like these are the rules to being successful. But if you try to like go outside the box with that same set of rules, it instantly starts breaking down. Like when we like in music and in hip hop, for example, things that we will call a record deal, we don't call it a loan. We call it a record deal.
You're right.
But it's a high interest loan.
That's all it is.
But once you're in the box of the music industry, we call it getting signed.
Yeah,
It's a good thing. Outside of the industry, I say, hey, bro, here go $1 million. You owe me $1.5 million. You'd be like, wait,
Terrible.
that doesn't make any sense. It's confusing, but that's kind of the state of sometimes it's the state of like our economic level of education, right? So we don't necessarily understand interest and compound interest. And when I say we, I'm not necessarily talking about black people. I'm just talking about it from a perspective of like, as we do business, the results of compounding interest over 4 years is not readily known to us because we haven't been exposed to these types of situations over and over again. So I think it's all simple, but that's why they kind of draw these. Look, whenever I see a rapper with a nice chain on, I just go, what's the interest rate on it? Because, like, we'll give. I heard you talking about Lil Baby earlier. Not Lil Baby, the Baby. You was talking about the Baby earlier. And man, I like all these dudes, but I go, okay, so if I'm a label if I invest $500,000 in you, if you tell me you're gonna give me $500,000 back, why would I even? I might as well have just kept my money and took it over to the stock market and make 3%. But if you're telling me that I can put $500K into this kid, $1 million into this kid, and oh, by the way, the house is part of the 500. I buy it, and I'm basically doing a rent to own with my little rapper superstar on it.
Yeah.
The chain I own. It's collateralizing the house that I just took out for this. So it's like, bro, they're winning on so many financial levels, and then the artist at the end of it all, because you can talk to them all, they jaded as hell at the end of their 7 years of dealing with said label. They'll go, well, I did all of this stuff and I didn't really see anything off of it. It's like, well, why do you think you didn't see anything off of it? Well, and I'm saying that kind of rhetorically, because you can't expect an 18 to 22-year-old to like understand. That's why I was talking about that time value of money calculation. You can't understand them to think, yo, if I take on $500,000 to $1 million of debt, and I'm leveraging my art and my albums to a label for this money, call it 2020. You can't think that in 7 years it's like, yo, but the interest that I ran up on creating, which meant going on a tour, which meant buying, like anytime I see going into a studio, right? You're not just paying cash for that. You took on debt, which means you financed the future of your career. Mm-hmm. And if we start breaking it down like that, now when I see an artist on TV, they famous, especially they kind of like semi, like those semi. Like, how are y'all dudes? Like, who are y'all? Don't even know you, but you dripped out. I go, damn, bro, you're trapped before you even started any of this.
Sold a record,
Never sold a record. You would have to make 10 times more than what you took out. And so if we started reframing it to being like, yo, none of y'all are successful, ha ha ha, it'll come off differently. Yeah. Like if imagine I just like video games used to play back in the day, and they would have all your little stats above you, your health and what weapons you got and how much. If everybody walked around every day with a little icon over their head, and you got to go look at your favorite, you'll skim a couple dudes. You be like, okay, yeah, good. And then you'll get to your favorite rappers, and it'll be like revenues, 3.6 million. Debts, expenses, block, and they'll be like 14 to 15 million in the hole. You'd be like, hold up, bro, I thought you was rich though. Oh, yes, you did go buy all these chains and these cars and these clothes, but it's not really paid for. You're expected to pay for that over the next 7 to 10 years with your albums and your projects. It's a mess. It's a hot mess. And so your homeboy ends up feeling like, yo, but if I go out here and crowdfund, I got to show them my finances. Mm-hmm. See, when we first crowdfunded, I had to pull my finances out for Dope Coffee Company. That shit said $5,000 made. Yeah. Which is, how braggadocious do that sound?
Man, that's real.
That don't sound.
But that's the real part. Now we getting real though.
It's like getting real. You get what I'm saying?
Now we playing the game.
Now you're playing the game. Yeah. Now somebody can look at that and go, oh wait, so you got a bag with a label, you made 5,000, you ain't got no situation?
Yeah.
Slide a little cash over there.
Exactly.
Slide a little cash over there.
That 5,000 hit different now.
Well, that's my point. A lot of these artists, which you don't see behind the smoke and mirrors, and I'm not gonna get into no name calling because I done talked to a lot at this table. There's been a lot of people around this table. Okay, it's been major label record execs. This is my favorite. This is my favorite
right here in particular. Money on that table is emanating.
You get to see how much money they don't have, and these are some of the best Atlanta's finest, and you'll be like, hold up, so how much? Hey, bro, cut the bullshit. How much money did you make? Well, that's not how we do it. And you're like, whoa, stop. You sitting on my little 100,000. How much money did y'all make last year? Yeah. How profitable is it? Well, we actually lost money. And this, you keep hearing the story over and over.
Yes,
it was two record execs from the same label at this table arguing with each other about the conversation I was having with them because I told them that they're not making any money. Yet they're sitting at this table trying to lecture me about why I'm doing coffee and hip hop and scaling this through grocery stores, and we're not being a coach. And I was like, but how much money did you make? Well, we did 1.5 million. He's like, yeah, but we spent exactly. 2.5 on such and such. Now,
that's a loss, my guy.
And so that's called a loss, bro. And you know why you don't care about the loss? Because you just an employee to the situation. You're not actually holding that big ass pocketbook.
So it doesn't matter to you. You just part of the brand. The brand took the hit, but you just here.
You just here. And it sounds good to be like, yeah, bro, we brought 2 million through the door. Like, but bro, come on, I don't feed from the smoking, man. I don't want to hear. I can go make big numbers.
And the thing with these creators, man, they volunteer to be a part of that system, man. So it's like, bro, it's that's why you kind of say like, oh, I'm done fighting the fight, trying to save everybody. You know what I mean? Because then you can say all of this and you can lay it out from line by line. This is how you do it. This is how you turn $1 into two into 6, and then so on and so forth. Take your creativity and not be that starving artist anymore. But they will voluntarily sign up to keep it going, keep the cycle going, to discourage the other people in any field to say like, I'm gonna go out there and get it on my own. So it make us look crazy when we say 100,000. This is how you invest it back in. I raised 5,000, my first 5,000, but then I invested it back into myself. It makes those things sound crazy. You know what I mean? So you can't really
makes
move
them not
forward.
grandiose, and we want these larger than life, grandiose, instant, overnight wins.
That's what it is.
And that's what we pitching each other.
They always look over 10 years from now, whenever you're little, and it's even faster than that now. It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Like
whoever you thought was popping 3 to 4 years ago, bro, they're done. And then they're like really, really done, like in real life. And that's very, very dangerous to the future of everybody that's coming up after that mindset, because it's turnover rate, right? It's quick. Like they'll volunteer and sign up for like, oh, but I get to get lit for 3 years. Sign me up. You know what I'm saying? Who cares about when I'm 26? Like, bro, you got a lot of life to live after that, dog.
And it's what you said earlier. You only get to be young
once.
And that's what this culture and this industry is doing. It's taking away the youth, right? It's capitalizing on that part of Black artistry's life, right? And I mean that from a 16 to 25-year-old. Like that point in our life, it's gonna take that and kind of like liquidate everything that's worth, because it ain't worth a lot.
Yeah.
That's why there's 50 artists now on one label that all kind of make the same music, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then another thing that they don't talk about is when these cats turn 26, 27, ain't really got there yet, really don't have no foundation, really don't know. Now they just like, now they kind of bitter about the situation. They don't want to change anything because they thinking what they're doing right now is the thing that's going to put them on, and they actually just like hindering themselves creatively to not like think outside the box. Do that crowdfund, make your first 500, sell 1 CD, do some merchandise, do this and that. They don't want to do none of that stuff because they thinking, oh, they've been doing it for, because like when you 26 in hip hop world, you done been doing it for 10 years now, because you done started as a teenager. It's a teenager's dream to, because you just start learning literature. You know what I'm saying? So you rapping now. Oh, I'm rapping. So now you've been in it for 10 years, and look at how much of that training and that learning that they don't put you through as a 26-year-old. You ain't changing it. You ain't changing your mindset. So now you can't really do business no more. You can't. You have signed yourself up, and you haven't even got any other rewards, and you still signed yourself up to be a slave. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, he said it. And if you haven't heard business for dummies, that's basically what this was. This was a business lesson for all of us. Yeah, I did. I love the record too. And it made me think when you guys were talking about crowdfunding, because we talked about how people don't look at it, as a viable option. What was you guys' first foray into crowdfunding, and how were you guys able to leverage that? Because people look at large numbers, but they don't look at how you guys were able to take a small amount and leverage it into a business. Like, what was y'all's first experiment with it, and what were maybe some things that you can share, some trade secrets that you can share?
I got a bunch for you on that, but I want to go back to your story of when
Oh
you
yeah, I
raised
remember
1,000.
first 1,000. Yeah, man.
See, mine was similar. I started on Indiegogo when I had Solar Cafe, and my point that I'm making with this is that a lot of people what they
I
don't
did
do.
Kickstart. That's it.
There you go.
Oh, Kickstarter, got
That's
you.
what I did. Yeah.
So if you even look at the names of these platforms, they're telling you in the name Kickstart, it's saying start. Indiegogo, it's saying go.
Go.
What a lot of people don't do is they just don't do anything. They sit around talking for like weeks and years and months. It actually doesn't matter what you do right at the beginning. And if that's the number one lesson I learned, just do something. Throw some shit at some wall and let something stick somewhere. Cause it ain't good no way.
Yeah.
Nothing you do
Facts.
early on is good. So
Facts.
it doesn't really matter. And if I was giving advice specifically to a black audience, creative or non-creative, so and a guy helped me out on this. He was like, "Yo, you know your issue." He said, "You've been conditioned to black excellence," and I like kind of stumped me for it. I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You've been conditioned that everything you do as a black person needs to be excellent."
Yeah, exactly.
He said, "Bro, like, why do you think that you're even gonna be good at the beginning of anything?"
Right.
It's like, so what we end up doing is we work on our little pathetic ass business for 10 years, making this piece of shit shinier.
Instead of just dropping it and letting
Instead
it go.
of dropping that shit.
Just
Throw
let
it.
it go, just
Throw
drop
it at
it.
the wall and see what stick.
Yeah.
See, Dope Coffee, these bags, they look real cool and highly sophisticated and all cutting edge, and motherfuckers write us love letters about these bags.
Yeah,
But that's not what I raised $100,000 on. I raised $100,000 on a blank black bag with a little logo printed on a regular. They look shit. When you look at them bags today, you could be embarrassed.
So we was slapping stickers on the bags, bro. That's how you label them.
And they wasn't even nice stickers, bro. These were stickers from I forget the name. It was the little like Staples, right? And it was terrible. Is my point. But it's like we can't sit here for 6 more months trying to figure this out. We got to go with what we have, but we got to go now. Well, all right. So Indiegogo, that was the first one. Nabisco actually gave me $3,000. It was kind of surprised me because guess what? I filled my whole thing. I put everything out there publicly. If I didn't put it out there, would the $3,000 have ever came from Nabisco? No. How did they find me? Because it was publicly available, and that was my first lesson in life. Like, yeah, you got to get your stuff out there if you want it. If you want anything, it has to be out there. So coming into Dope Coffee, man, it was very much the same thing. So it was bootstrapping everything, just kind of self-starting it. But it became clear very quickly. So cafes versus doing CPG, consumer packaged goods. Like you could take a couple of $1,000, go in a cafe, you could work there every single day and hustle it up on your own. You could do that. But you're investing your time into a specific location and one business practice. And yes, you can make a good amount of cash and keep flipping it back in. But you're gonna only be able to do what's in that small box. When I wanted to start doing consumer goods, it was like, oh, well now I need manufacturing equipment. And you gotta have the equipment today. Like, so in a cafe, your customers will come to you over the next year. You don't have to get them all on day zero. You don't have to pay what it takes from those customers on day zero. But you do in manufacturing. Every piece of equipment that's in here, you gotta have it. And you don't make any money on it until you plug it in and use it. So the capital's got to come at the beginning, right? Startup costs, and so yeah, we was able to raise that $100K off just getting it online. I love to give credit here to Barack Obama for the Jobs Act from 2016. Very important act in the history of our country. The impact we haven't started to see the impact yet. So you got to understand that in order to invest money into a business, unless it was your business, prior to 2016, you had to meet a set of investor criteria, right? So I think the numbers back then might have been like, let's just say, for example, you had to make at least $200K a year, or you had to have a net worth of like $2 million, and you had to be able to prove that through disclosures to the SEC. Well, the Jobs Act said that anybody can invest, I think, up to $2,000 a year into any business, kind of regardless of the circumstances. And so this is where regulation crowdfunding. So you already had what was called rewards-based crowdfunding. That's your Kickstarter, your Indiegogo. Hey, basically contribute some money to this, and when it comes out, you'll be the first to get it, right? Well, that was different than a financial model of like selling equities or selling equity or securities into your company, right? And so that's what the Jobs Act did. The Jobs Act said that, hey, you, for example, you make $20,000 a year, but you can still invest $2,000 of that into a business, and that's game changing, especially for minorities who typically aren't going to hit those
high thresholds,
very high thresholds, right? Because a lot of people think everybody rich in America. We think, oh, everybody make $100,000. No, you don't. Let me see your W-2. No, you don't. You don't make $100,000, right?
Brother.
Yeah, less than 10%. It's like our mindset and who we think has enough money. So you said less than 10%. That means like 90 to 95% of the population can't invest. But if you look at 95% of the population having $100 to $250 to invest in a company, so the majority. So we had about 106 investors in our first crowdfund. We raised $107,000. 4 investors did about $50,000 of that, right? So if you think about it, the vast majority of our investments did come through very wealthy people, but that other 50,000 came through people that was doing 150 to 200 everyday people. So if you, like your friend who's the artist, the creative, he knows 100 people that could do $100. He might know 100 people who can do $1,000, and you're at $100,000 that quick, right? And what happens is attract $50,000 in investment. Somebody else sitting over there with 50,000 is like, wait, what do you? Because it's hard. I don't care where you're from or what you do. It's hard to get $50,000 worth. And we're talking about a time where companies are raising billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time that even just get 50 invested in you, it kind of puts you in a serious category. People start talking to you. And I didn't understand those thresholds. So once we raised our first 100K, gave us a lot of legitimacy. Like legitimacy not only to investors, a business. So we're rolling out, I don't know if y'all talked about this, we're rolling out Dope Coffee in, is it 96 Harris Teeters?
Yeah.
And 140 Harris Teeters and 200.
104 Harris Teeters and 200 Krogers.
Right, so that's all this.
Congrats, bro.
Yeah, that's this
whole
it's like right
calendar we
here.
see.
Yeah, that's this calendar on the wall right here. It's all about the drop. And the thing is, like, when we have to ask ourselves, well, why are we in that position? So if you're a Kroger or a Harris Teeter, you don't, even though it might be a cool brand like Dope Coffee, you don't want to bring it on the shelf if they're going to go out of business in 4 months, right? And so because you need to be able to reset your coffee program for the next 36 months, with at least 3 years. So even saying that, hey, yo, we've raised 100,000, we've raised 200,000, we've raised 450,000, that's a level of legitimacy. That's tiny. Those are tiny numbers. But it's a level of legitimacy even to other large corporate entities that now want to partner and do business with you. And so being able to be humble enough to step out there on my $5,000 in revenue in my bag with a little sticker on it, put 100K in, which led to another 250K in revenue, and it just kept growing. But I had to be willing to start somewhere. And that's just what we're not doing right now. We're not starting somewhere. This is what Black Sheep Accelerator was about. The whole point is like, yo, if you get to the point where you raise $100,000, you're not gonna need to learn too much more about raising. Because, for example, like, so raising that first 100K, last summer I got wired $250,000 off a phone call. Like, this is literally like, oh, what do you need? What do you need it for? All right, bro, give me till next week and I'll get the money to you. And that's, to go from having 5,000 and like
somebody shoots for 250 is crazy.
To now the deals that we're doing now is it's going to be $1.5 million. I mean, we're picking our deals now. That's the difference, right? We're like, do we want this deal, or that? And they all come with different pluses and minuses. And my point is, a lot of folks want to know how do you do that? How you get the $1 million check? Like, well, don't worry about that. Just go ahead and get the first one. You're gonna know everything you need to know by that point. And matter of fact, then you'll even be legitimate enough. So that's what Black Sheep is, right? Black Sheep Accelerator is this thought that Dope Coffee just learned all these lessons, specifically in consumer packaged goods. So let's take what we just learned, this hard road, because I do think that raising your first 100K is the most difficult.
Yeah.
So let me take the lessons we learned and just kind of spread those out and share them to anybody. Because if you learn, I feel like in Black culture, Black America, I think guys asked me about Bob Johnson earlier. I don't think we necessarily need to look at billionaires because they're not the answer for the common person. The common person needs to get wealthy enough to own a home or two and to send their kids off to the next stage in life, however that feels successful. And so we looking at billionaires, like, bro, that's not it. That's not the end. If everybody had to become a billionaire just so your kids can go to college, that's not
a fail. Yeah.
It's a fail, right?
Yeah.
The real answer is you need about $700,000 in wealth in America, I think, to be like where it probably can't be taken from you, right? And so that exactly right. You see about 700. I mean, probably not even that much. If you're smart, man, probably 300.
300, you'd be
300.
You'd be good for a good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the principles to get to it is, I think, what you're speaking
That's
to.
the
Because how you got to
100,000.
Yeah.
Principles to get 5,000.
Yeah.
Same principles.
Yeah, that's the part that they skip, man.
That's what's scary.
If you get there, you done learned all those lessons. That's half of it.
But
That's
you
half
have to
about
take the step to even get to it.
Yeah. Might talk about the deals that we're doing today, but we still have a GoFundMe up right now for 5K.
I saw that posted on your IG, man, and you were telling people it was still time, and
Yep.
that's just an interesting concept because of the success that you all have. There will be an assumption by people who don't understand
Exactly.
that y'all still
Oh,
asking.
you got it, bro.
But who spends their own capital? If someone will give you the capital, right?
I think it's even bigger than that. I think we don't know how much capital is a lot of capital.
Yeah.
Like when I talk about stuff like that, when you talk about capitalizing a project, right? So if you look at all the hotels that are going up in Atlanta, so those are being done by Noble Investment Group, and the reason I'm bringing them up is because it's one of my college alumni, Mitt Shaw. Mitt Shaw runs Noble Investments, and Mitt Shaw is a multi-millionaire approaching billionaire status. Well, he just went and raised $1.8 billion, and so when people could look at him, well, why do you need to raise money?
Right, exactly.
Well, because, bro, he's like, well, do you know how much stuff costs? Like, do you know how much it costs to build? I can't build one hotel. I need to build 30 hotels. So like, if I'm constantly taking my little small, tiny millions of dollars and trying to go do billion-dollar things, I'm going to constantly run out of capital.
Yeah.
And so by the time you're a company that's doing a few $1 million, you still need tens of thousands of dollars. Like, for example, just to prepare for this Harris Teeter order, right? It's $10,000 out the door before, like, the investment is $10,000 just to put the product on the shelf. And I'm not getting paid for 4 months.
Yeah, that's not
Exactly.
even, you haven't even earned anything.
Haven't
That's just to even put on the shelf.
Just to put it on the shelf. And I could fail on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
I could fail on all 340 of those shelves, and my $40-something thousand that I just put on the shelf it could be gone. Now, it's our job to make that investment
A sound
investment, right? That's our marketing and our sales campaigns that we do. But the point that I had to learn, because I had a mindset, when I raised that first 100, I was sorry. I was like, I don't need no more money ever again. Shit, 2 weeks later, I'm like, God damn, I need another 100,000. 3 weeks later, I need another 100,000. It's like, because everything, I mean, sometimes we don't understand the cost of financing a business, and we think it should be cheap because we kind of I grew up in hustle culture. You can always work a little harder to make ends meet. It's like, yeah, but I don't even have enough time to make it. If I just dedicated my whole life to hustling this whole thing out, I could probably get it to where it generates about $3 million a year. If I put all of my time and energy into it, that's not enough money to even do anything with. And that's the other things we don't understand. So like, and I get your point too, man. People will think you done made it. Cause like, that's the one thing that changed for me a little bit. People will see the business and then they'll just assume that, oh, well, you got hundreds of $1,000s sitting in your pocket right now. You should be able to just give me $20,000. I'm like, bro, I put every single dollar on every single thing, and it's gonna be like that for quite some time. Because that's the only way you're gonna build any form of real wealth. And these are some of the lessons. That's the reason I was bringing up Black Sheep, and I know you mentioned break the wealth gap. So Break the Wealth Gap is a nonprofit that we run, and Black Sheep is like, that's just one of the programs that's done out of it. And so much of it is like a cultural mindset that we got to break out of. Like, I got a buddy, Mark, man, his family owns farms in Eastern North Carolina and a large construction company. And so when they buy bulldozers, they spend $2 million on bulldozers. And when you see Mark, you know, you drive like a little minivan and some regular Levi jeans and some work boots. And you'll be like, but bro, your whole situation looking like about $200 million over there. He's like, yeah, but that's not a lot of money. And that's where we would have to understand of like, yo, wealth doesn't look like
what we think it does.
It doesn't look like that.
It's not the metrics that we use to measure it all the time either.
Absolutely, and that's the key. Different metrics. That's what we're talking about over here.
Before I go on, like, how can people benefit from learning from the nonprofit and the initiative? Is there a way that they can access it to a site? Is it classes? Like, how can people stay informed about what they do?
Yeah. We were doing classes for a while. So let me put some disclosures out there. I took a step back from the accelerator, and it wasn't because it was my approach was off. So you know, as an educator, you can come in with a certain level of knowledge, but if your student body isn't prepared to receive that knowledge, you can't teach them much. So this is a part where I'm still trying to figure out. All the classes are still online. BlackSheepAccelerator.org. All the PDFs, the documents, the interviews, the video, everything that I just said, how to do it is still there. If you send me a message, I'm constantly trying to teach people how to do this, right? Because first of all, it's easy. That's the other part. It's once you learn the knowledge and kind of let go of maybe the way that some folks see. We also what happened also a lot of times in our culture is we don't want to give something up. So I'll put it out there right now. So we're working on a deal right now where potentially 40% of Dope Coffee, we're about to give this up to a $1 billion company, $700 million in annual revenue, fairly large company. And so sometimes people go, well, you don't want to give up half of your company and this and that. It's like, yeah.
That is a conversation you hear a lot about, ownership versus. Go ahead.
Owning what? I'm like, what you want to own, bro? You want to own 100% of the rights to make $1,000 a month. Bravo.
Right, and let's take the dollar off the table. Let's just take the money off the table. Who you know?
You right.
You don't know anybody. Bro, go raise $5,000 so you can at least know who got $5,000. Now go raise 100 so you can at least know they got. So you can at least start knowing people that have the same interests as you. So it don't matter if you're making film or doing coffee. Like, you gotta know people. You gotta know who's who's supporting you, who's willing to invest in your ideas. You gotta find these people. You gotta go out there, put yourself on the table and say, hey, who else wants to do this with me?
Absolutely.
Now, you can put the dollars back on the table, because that's very important. But it's just you gotta, it's deeper than, it's deeper than that. Like, you gotta, you're not gonna find out who's doing what until you put yourself out there and really find these people.
Well, it's I won't name any names, but this company that we're discussing this partnership, it's actually two of them, so we're kind of playing a little bit of a bidding war. Hopefully too much of this video don't come out before we finish the deal. But even if it did, they kiss my ass. They all can. 'Cause I can do it myself, bro. You know what I'm saying? One way or the other. We can do this by ourselves, or we can do it with partners. And that's first of all, you do need that kind of confidence. But I don't know, what was the topic?
Oh yeah, no. What we were asking was just essentially, and I forgot for a second. But
the nonprofit.
That's it. With the nonprofit Black Sheep Accelerator, I was just asking, how can people benefit from? But you said the information is online, there's PDFs, and you said you've been working on trying to present it and teach it to people in a way that they can digest it.
So I'm gonna give you the real answer. You can't teach them. You have to do it with them. Here's what it means, man. I'm gonna let a little bit more of the cat out the bag in that. So ultimately, and I'm not saying this is just Dope Coffee, but this is a part of my own personal journey of what I'm realizing. But it does have some things to do with Dope Coffee. Is this? So let's just say if it was 5 black brands and one of them sells soup, another sells shirts, another sells baby formula, and somebody else does something else. I could sit here and give them all a class today and tell them, you could go find some executive at a large CPG company and say, hey, give them all a class about how it goes. And they could tell you, and then you'll leave out the next day and wouldn't be able to use any of that information. Or you could incubate those 5. You could say, okay, you all need these resources in order to be successful. I have these resources, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of cash, but I'm gonna give you a whole lot of situation. And now I'm about to walk you through my process to get you there.
Really
so that's where Black Sheep is ultimately headed. It's gotta be, so here's the thing that I realized. You can't help people. If to a degree, this is gonna sound very messed up, so just bear with me. If you're not taking advantage of a person or an entity in some degree, you can't really help them. And here's what I mean by that. If I just give you some knowledge, it's not gonna help you. But if I say, hey, give me 40% of your shit, and now I'm gonna drag you along,
bro.
You can help them because you can also hurt them. And we're not often exposed and in those vulnerable positions enough to where anything can happen. If you can sit in safe zone and dance around the edge and keep going to entrepreneur classes and blah, blah, blah for 3, you're going to feel like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I just went to this training that, but you ain't doing nothing. There's no risk that anything is about to fail. And so you just kind of getting this emotional fix off the situation. And so why I'm saying that ultimately, so what does Black Sheep have to be? It has to be an investment firm. And what the investment firm has to be, I mean, so it doesn't have a very specific thesis. It is consumer packaged goods, because we've cracked the code. So saying that we're on the shelf or going on the shelf at Harris Teeter and Kroger, and there's a couple more coming too, not just those.
And your independent retail, like we're from New York to Florida, you can probably find us in every state.
Yeah, absolutely.
As an independent retail chain.
Yeah, as an independent retail chain.
And you got
that's a lot of
major
connection.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We're at the bottom of that J curve. So the curve going like this. We're actually not at the bottom of the curve. I actually think we're at the, if the curve is like this, we're at the other side of the curve.
I always think we over here. I'm way up there.
It's about to go pure vertical. And so the point is, and I'm actually making a bigger point, not just about dope coffee. I'm making a bigger point about Black economics, and I use the word incubation. Because when we look at white businesses and we ask ourselves about that advantage that they get, or we talk about the good old boys network, that's what we're saying. We talk about it in a negative way, that an old white man would mentor a young white boy and give him $100,000 to invest and then tell him exactly how he's going to do it. We talk about that as something negative. It's the good old boys club. I'm like, what do you mean, bro? They're incubating each other. They're making them. We have to do that in our own community, but we don't operate or think like they do. So when we see creativity in our community, it has to be embraced within our community, funded within our community. I'm not saying the dollars all gotta come. When I say funded, I mean from the perspective of the idea to fund it has to come within our community. For example, there is no one in America that is going to, call it 2015, come up with the idea of dope coffee and try to fund it. There's no incentive for them to create that. So that all has to come from within our community. And then, they have that lift as you climb mindset, right?
Yeah.
I don't really agree with that. I think we talked about it earlier. I think you have to be somewhere solid and have made it and snatch a person all the way to where you are. Because they can't, climbing is failure. Mm-hmm. You're gonna get tired climbing and fall off the side of, how many of us getting so close to peak, and dope coffee isn't there yet. And I say that because there are other people snatching me right now with them. You get what I'm saying? And so it's like, but we have to institutionalize that within our community. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Y Combinator. Y Combinator is an accelerator for tech-related businesses based out of San Francisco. And if you're familiar with ChatGPT and OpenAI, the founder and CEO of ChatGPT or OpenAI is the former CEO of Y Combinator. So what he spent a decade doing was, let me just incubate all these technology firms. And then he took that knowledge and said, now let me create the greatest technology firm of all time, which is what I think he's doing. And that, to a degree, so and that's the other part too. So like, I love tech, right? but I'm doing manufacturing and I'm doing commodities and I'm doing agriculture. And so to some people, they could look down on that. Some people do, in fact. They go, but you're just making packages of stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, but explain to me where a black-owned technology business gets the Google, Microsoft, Tesla, SpaceX level investment on day zero. It doesn't happen. Why doesn't it happen? Because it's 2024 right now. Back up to the year 2000, back up to the year 1980, we, as black culture, in my opinion, we've tried to skip a lot of steps coming out of slavery. And it's not as, like, a lot of people feel like, well, we're not slaves anymore, we deserve equality, blah, blah, all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you're also expecting to have a certain level of progress that goes along with that achievement, if you will, of not being enslaved as a culture anymore. Where's that progress going to come from? And man, it'll probably get weird if I start going into some of my theories. Well, fuck it, I will go into the topic for a split second. When you're and this part is what's fucked up about our mindset right now. When you're a slave, you already got to go ahead and accept the construct of slavery to have this point of the discussion I'm about to make. So once you're enslaved, and not at the beginning, the motherfuckers at the beginning was, I hope they was fighting and trying to kill and get away everybody. But once it's 300 years in, right, and you was born on a plantation that has a set of ethics and a judicial system, because that all existed.
There's a hierarchy.
It's a hierarchy. It's a structure to it, right? So who provides for the slaves? The owner. And that's something that I don't think that black culture has really reckoned with, is that yes, our rights and ability to take care of ourselves were stripped from us involuntarily, but the status quo became that we were taken care of by white people. So we get free from slavery, Jim Crow period. Who are we still more or less expecting? We are still expecting that something from outside of us is coming in to take care of us. And that's kind of, I call it the psyche of slavery. That's the actual part of it that was left. It's not the religion and the chicken legs and it ain't all that bullshit that's relevant. It's the psychology that you can hear it in our culture. I ain't trying to knock them, but they be like, support is a verb. No, it's not. Shut the fuck up. Sorry. Support is not a fucking verb. You have to have something to sell that people want. You have to have quality. You have to drive demand for your product, right? I don't need to be supported into being a multimillionaire. That's this mindset that it's coming from outside in instead of the inside out. So once we can kind of get past, I don't even want to say it like that. See, we have to recognize that this society and the social construct is not one where we're intended to be the winners. That doesn't mean we're not about to be the winners. Are you familiar with Reginald F. Lewis?
Yeah.
First black billionaire. And I love Reggie F. because he wrote a book.
Why do the white boys get to have all the fun?
Why do they get to have all the fun, right? And I always thought that he was going to talk about the white boys. And he didn't really. He talked about us, like. Is it that they get to have all the fun, or are we not doing the things that are going to allow us to be in that seat where we also get to have fun? We'll talk about things like self-reliance. There are a lot of core principles that this country stood for that I think could still do well for black people. And I was making a point of why are we talking agriculture and not technology? Because I mean, I see it right now out in the startup community, in the entrepreneurship community. If you want to have an app, man, you can attract so much attention. But I got a couple homeboys that came out with apps, and they got a lot of attention, they got a lot of money, and the apps were just like every other app, and so it all fell off, and it's gonna keep falling off. You're skipping a step. That app that you see being made inside of another culture or another community is being tied to a finance model and problems that exist within those communities. When we do it, there's no real reason for someone to pick our app over their app because it doesn't have cultural relevance for them. And why am I saying all this? Who's bankrolling Silicon Valley of today? It's the
culture that benefits from.
The culture that benefits from it, but also where did that money come from? That culture is mostly early 1900s manufacturing money. right? We don't have, like, think about what I just said. The era of industrialization is what allowed white Americans were poor. This is what I don't think we remember. Yeah, these was like rejects coming from other parts of the world. They industrialized because a machine, let's just say if I just make $1 per bag, but it's a machine making the bag now. That's a pretty predictable way to make money. Once I get up into technology, creativity, music, arts, culture, it gets highly unpredictable about how to generate a return. That's why I was saying, like, like the Booker T model versus the Marcus. Like, I feel like Marcus Garvey would want to go to Silicon Valley today. Booker T would come to a factory like Do Coffee and go, all right, guys, so we know if we can create enough demand for our coffee out here and we just make enough, the delta in between that is a certain percentage of profit. And that's where we haven't
evolved from that.
We haven't evolved, and it doesn't sound exciting to be like, yeah. I mean, I'm writing a song right now, and I've been in this factory since last week. Shoes a little dirty, but that's a track beat. And that my whole point is like, it don't look pretty. Yeah. I don't know the damn finances of a startup in technology versus a startup over here. I get it, but this can be done. Those are pipe dreams. And I'm at a point now where we got communities that are still highly impoverished. That's why you look at every third world, and I hate to use it in this term, but every third world country that wants to catch up to the West, what do? They manufacture, they take their commodities and turn them into finished goods.
Yep.
Why is Black America trying to skip that step of
creating something that only we can create and sell, so we now become producers, not consumers? And Garvey said it in all the grades of kind of sense. That's everything that's going to have to come is going to come from within, like you said, instead of us looking for other people to give us something that they never wanted to give us in the first place.
And why would they?
Why would they?
Who the
How
hell?
to keep it advantage, right?
Bro, I've never seen a wealthy Black family. So you want because we from the South, right? So I used to always kind of be jaded against Black people from the North, and it has everything to do with even the music. So I'd be like, bro, stop. It was a lady that came in here about a year ago. She was from like New Jersey or they were
from New York.
She's from New York. Talking about all these brownstones that her family owned, and I'd be like, and to her, white people are the devil, and white people should be figuring out how to right all their wrongs and sins, and we're poorer than them. So I was like, stop. So how much your family worth? Y'all got three brownstones in New York from the 50s, right? And you ever came down to the South and trickled any of that money into my Black poor neighborhoods and communities? Like, no, but that's different. I was like, how is it different? You're much wealthier than where I come from, and yet you have no expectation that you should take your money and put it in my community, but you want somebody else. It's like, cut it. I think that it's a very unique perspective to be Black and from the South right now. This is the last part of our economy that is modernizing. And so we're getting, like, we can't forget who we are and what time we exist in. I'm like, you should be partially thankful, not necessarily for the circumstances that led here, but for the fact that you get to be here at a point in time where it is improving. Like, take all your we sit here, we got all these noble ideas. Back it up to 1960 and say all this shit failed. You would be, we would be nobodies.
Now, keeping it real, we couldn't do any of this.
So in short, you're saying the South is the last frontier.
It's the last frontier.
And they've said that already. Charles Blow, he basically said all power could be consolidated down here. We could be Black majorities if we thought like that. It's the last vestige.
Yeah, we got a lot of theories about the South.
But look at who's coming. I'll be very clear.
You're right.
And I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but look,
I do.
Yeah, we do.
I'm saying BMW is saying, hey, let's invest in the South.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody else is, and the West is coming. The West is coming. The North is coming. Everybody else.
Why are they coming? Well, because there's unions in the North. There are unions out west.
There's land.
There's land.
It's affordability.
It's
quality of life.
Resources,
this is the last
culturally,
this is
resources,
for
physically.
to restart generational wealth or to
It's
make
the
a
last
name.
vestige.
The next Ford will be forged out of the South.
Yeah,
I agree. And you got to be able to understand those economics and the I don't want to call them geopolitics, those social politics.
You do.
If you miss it, so I'm telling folks, I'm like, guys, it's kind of
it's a closing door. The door is closing.
And you better get in now.
The door is closing. The wealth is going to close, and that permanent underclass statement is becoming more and more like.
Have y'all seen the
But
movie
it's so-
Elysium?
But it's on my list.
Have you seen the movie? Stacey, have you seen Elysium?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
people live on Earth.
Yeah,
the wealthy
they go,
people when they
yeah.
lived in space
Oh,
stations.
like the 100.
Very similar,
Okay.
yes. Pretty soon here, there's
Oh.
going to
They
be
would come
a
back
permanent
and forth.
impoverished class
Yeah.
because there is going to be no reason to bring people out of poverty. Like the
You say
dynamic.
that there's a Netflix series out of Brazil called The 5%, and it exactly is that. They live in the slums.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
95%.
I would love that show. They
And
have to
the other
fight.
5% live in
One
this
gets out.
paradise that's
Right, and one
doesn't
gets
have
out of
like
here.
the toxics of everything. You watch that, it's exactly what you just said.
One gets to compete to get out.
You,
It's kind of like Hunger Games almost.
it's so much deeper than Hunger Games. So
I get you. And look around. It already is like this
We're
right
like that
now.
now, yeah.
And this is where I've kind of. So I have all these thoughts that's kind of dire about
Yeah.
for black people in general that we are so out of tune. Stace, so look, I've been going on this rant about this hip hop beat, the Cole and the Drake and the Kendrick.
thing.
And I find I've had to reflect on my initial thoughts because sometimes I'll say it's good, sometimes I'll say it's bad, here, there, left, right, up and down. But I think the thing that was hurting me even more, because I was pretty upset at the beginning of the whole beat. I'm like, why are we so focused on this? What's hurting me is that you can take control of our entire public narrative this quick. I'm talking about the entire black social consciousness can be focused on a rap beat. Yet I'm telling you, I'm like, hey guys, I don't know if y'all remember this when you was kids. It was like, I forget which amendment. They were saying some amendment to the Constitution to get repealed and we were going to be re-enslaved. That was this kind of thought when I was a kid. I'll keep hearing it over and over again. And it's like, and that would scare us. But I'm like, it's 2024 and I'm telling you today, I'm like, yo, hey, all of y'all. And I'm saying y'all because I ain't talking to myself. You about to be stuck in a permanent impoverished class if you don't react in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
That conversation might circle one retweet.
Yep. Less than 5.
But Drake, Kendrick, I think it just bothered me how
Disconnected we are from the real danger.
Yeah, man.
That's like right there.
it's like right there. That shit scares me. It scares me, man. To be honest.
Reality, and they're gonna make it comfortable too.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna make it
And
comfortable.
that's what they realize. They've done enough tests to just be like, if it doesn't get this higher than this level of
Yeah,
pain,
we can keep
cool.
them right there.
Cool. Just this level of pain right
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And if they see some successful people, they'll think it's still attainable.
Yeah.
They're
well, no,
not
they
even
make you the
successful.
target.
Say again.
They just put the bullseye on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's the other part too. It's like the real people who really are the threat. You just shifted the target. You're like, this person that makes 20,000 more than you is a problem. No. That person makes 20 million more.
Right.
You
exactly.
feel it's okay for him
Exactly.
to have it. The person makes 20,000 more. You gotta destroy him.
Yeah.
That's the real.
And that's where it's just gonna sit right there. It's gonna live
And then
right
now
there.
it becomes you can't help them
Mhm.
because it destroys you. You can't help them. You have to watch them self-destruct because you saw it coming. It's just,
I'm gonna give you an example. Early on in Dope Coffee, I was reaching out to a lot of other black people that I knew were interested in coffee and said, hey man, because you gotta understand the reality of it. And I'm gonna speak this and I'm gonna say it might come with a little arrogance. See, Dope Coffee is gonna win. Winning is a skill. It's not a byproduct, it's a skill. Once you know how to win, you continue winning. And so I already knew Dope Coffee was gonna win. We're in the middle of it right now.
That's real.
But at the time, you remember, Stace was like, this lady's full alone. I'm reaching out to all, you can see an explosion of black people in coffee. And I was like, guys, we need to create a large consortium of black people in coffee. Of
You were thinking that
entities.
young,
The reality is, though, is like, all together we could have been a
Absolutely.
nation and been super
You could
powerful.
have been your own superpower.
Absolutely.
You could have been your own mini country with your own mini GDP.
But everyone wants to get it.
Their own way by themselves.
Yep.
And rather look at each other and compete with each other instead of consolidate power.
Samuel has a mentor, and I remember he said something so poignant once. He said, everyone wants to be the king of their own parking lot
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
versus building a
He also
kingdom.
said black people are relational and other people are organizational. And that changed my mindset. He said, we want to do things based off of personal relationship. And that doesn't help companies. So other people say, what are the rules of the structure? Play by these rules. We say, well, I get the rules, but you know me.
And you know, and that becomes the issue. That's all these record labels that I was saying sitting around.
But that's the thing, like, you're not gonna learn those lessons until you go do it. Like, and it all boils down to, like, it's fine for us to have flaws and make mistakes, and bro, it shouldn't be perfect all the way through. Like, but you gotta start so you can start learning these lessons. The more of us have to start learning these lessons. So when you have, like, we talk about this all the time. We could never talk to anybody else about where we're at today. It's just gonna be two different metrics. But now, if the same person now let's say 5 of us started 10 years ago, don't matter where we're at. Like, one can be at 100,000, one can be at 10 million, but you have that journey now. Now you can look over and be like, hey, I'm here, so how did
you get over this?
Yeah, exactly. How did you get over this hump, that hump? So now you just make it easier and easier for each other, man. And it's but we don't all start, like I said, we want to be the kings of our own parking lot, and we just sit there and we don't share information, and we don't say, like, all right, let's all start together. And let's keep in touch with each other as we're starting together. I'm not saying we gotta be kumbaya.
But just because they're not kumbaya.
Nah, but they know who's in the game with them though.
They know who on the same. Okay, hang on. He's on the other end of the team, but that's still my teammate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's still my teammate.
At this table alone, I would say I've offered like real equity stakes in this. Not really asking nobody for nothing. I've offered real equity stakes to at least 15 to 20 people. And what's interesting to me is that they are rather try to go find my pennies and get a hold of my pennies, and I'm like, bro, I'm trying to actually give you like
a percentage,
the real thing. And it's weird to me to see how many people like reject that. Or I'll just give you an example. It was I ain't gonna drop a name on this one, but it was a person who so we had just signed, well, we were in the process of signing a pretty large distribution deal for office coffee, right? So we signed a deal with a company called Perimeter Office Products. They distribute to, they're kind of like a next day staples for large businesses, right? They do $30 million in revenue annually. In coffee sales alone, they do about 300,000. They sell more coffee than most coffee companies, right?
Man.
But just boxes of pods, right?
And they focus right here on Atlanta.
Right. White folks.
Yeah, of course.
They do a deal with us. It's like you said, it's all organizational. Here's the structures, pricing, dates, blah, blah, blah. The black folks that I tried to do that same deal with basically tried to like hustle me out of my own system of like, well, we don't really want to, because I wanted to bring them to the table. It's like, hey, you're already kind of doing some office coffee like things, but you're not doing it. So why don't you come over here, sit at this table with me, partner, and develop this thing, and I'll give you my resources.
So you
because I have way more resources. You don't have anything compared to what I have.
Mm-hmm.
But she'd rather try to get. I don't even know. That's when it got weird. It's like, what is it that you're trying to accomplish here? You trying to go make $1,000? Like what?
I'm learning that it's just two totally different metrics, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're in it, it's not to their fault. They just not playing the same game as you.
And they don't understand.
You use the word like resources.
Yeah.
Don't nobody understand what that means. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not in it, bro. They're just not in it.
Well, that's kind of my point, though.
They want you to hand it to them.
Yeah.
And then step away.
They're not understanding.
There's no skin in the game.
You have to give. They don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so that kind of lies. That's the issue that I think that we're very proud people. So we oftentimes think that like we're bringing
more than we are.
Yeah, and that's difficult.
Proud about nothing, man.
I mean, proud to have you sitting, on your ass, feeling very foolish.
I know, man.
Yeah, well.
So yeah, either way,
It's a
it'd be
big
more I
learn,
want
bro,
to.
but that's why we gotta have more people learn, bro. It's all learning lessons at the end of the day, man. You'll start talking different. You'll start seeing it's different. Like, this is a totally different roadmap than I thought it was in the beginning.
But see,
You know
this is
what I'm
why I had
saying?
to put Black Sheep. These are the things where I had to put Black Sheep. I didn't put it on the back burner. I had to just turn it on simmer real kind. Like, I got to cook this sauce up a little differently because I was trying to bring the organizational knowledge, and people basically wanted to turn into like.
Help me out, bro.
Yeah,
Put me in
I
the
was
game.
like, that's not.
Put me in the game, bro. Don't tell me
You
how
gonna
to
fill it out for me?
Put me in there with you. Put me in there with you. Don't tell me how to fish.
Yeah.
Fish it for me. Put it in my
I love
hand.
entrepreneurs.
Fry the fish, skin it for me, eat it for me. Tell me how it tastes, and then just give me the energy.
Man, you know, you guys are giving out a lot, but there's one question I did have for you guys. I want to know, how did you know you guys had a partnership with FX and worked with Atlanta?
Still going. It's still going. So you asked the story at the beginning, how did we run into Grip and TIG?
Mm-hmm.
So Atlanta hit us up 2020. 20 or 21? Might have been 21.
Yeah, whenever the first year of South by came back.
Yeah, so I think it was 2021.
Yeah.
And they said, so season 3 of Atlanta was rolling out. And they asked us, I love FX. They pay their invoices. They pay big invoices. But also, they didn't have a clue what they was doing. And they needed this cafe done in the middle of South by Southwest almost overnight from when they called. And I almost wanted to say no, to be honest with you, because I was like, yo, this is a lot of work, and like, y'all don't know what you want yet. Like, you're asking me, when can I deliver said project without what are we doing though? Like, tell me what we're doing. Where is it? When is it? Why is it? Etc. But we went down there, so we planned the cafe for them, stroked it. I'm talking about, like, South by that year, first year coming back, from what I heard in general, it was pretty whack. I couldn't tell from where I was standing because we had a line wrapped around our building because the word went out on the street, yo, Dope Coffee's got a pop-up cafe. It became not about FX actually very quickly. To the point where the folks that we were working with FX, you could tell they was getting a little nervous because it became more of a Dope Coffee activation and less of an FX, because what the point was supposed to be is that I forget the Paperboy and whoever. What was Donald Glover's name in the Earn? Yeah, Earn. They was, season 3 was in Europe, so they was doing a road show, and they had stopped in the cafe and had a weird experience, and we was kind of recreating that scene. So we did a coffee bar on the bottom level of a really nice bar called Higher Grounds, Austin, and then on the second floor was like an experience. So digital art of all the like season art. What was this guy from like Connecticut that did all the artwork for the season? Mm-hmm. If you saw any of the FX stuff outside, the guy that did the art, really dope black artist up there. But then Grip got contracted to do a live performance in the cafe. And that's what I was saying. Stace, you knew who Grip was at the time. I didn't know who Grip was, and so Stace was like, "Yo." Because we had just done the first version of the spinach bag. It wasn't this bag. And Grip was actually performing I Died for this because it had just dropped.
Yeah, it just came out at that time.
It just came out. And I remember I was still downstairs in the cafe. I think you was upstairs, and I was listening. I was just sitting there because I had a certain feeling about hip hop at the time. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But I was listening. I was like, wait, this motherfucker up there rocking the whole situation. So at the end of the night, after that day was over, we actually had that was it that spinach bag or was it the black one?
It was the black one.
We had our first version of it, and I'll show it to you when we get done here. Gave it to Tig and was like, actually we gave all of them bags of coffee. And said, look, check this out. We need to do a deal together. And it needs to be about I died for this. So we did it. It was a cool event down there in Atlanta or Austin, but nothing really happened down there because we was all just down there working, right? Yeah. And then we all came back. We linked up a few weeks later. We had just signed a lease on this building, and so nothing was as it looks today. So we was all in the back, and it was a bag of Burundi coffee raw green coffee just sitting on the ground. Grade 1 coffee, because that's the special coffee that's in his bag. It's actually the highest quality and score of coffee that will come into North America, period. I'm not saying it's going to taste better than everyone, because that's still a preference, but in terms of how the industry experts grade coffee, it's just the best. You won't be able to buy anything or source anything better. And we got photos, I'll show you. So I remember Grip was looking at that shit. He was like, some Burundi, because at the time he'd already did beer. He had this beer with it wasn't Monday.
It was an Asheville company.
It was Asheville.
It was Asheville.
Burial. That's who it was. Yeah. And so he was already interested in the different flavors and the different styles and ways of making products, and he got it. And then, man, we just, but what I will say is we did the two ways of doing business. It was relational, but it was also organizational. And it was a good hybrid. And I think as we got to know each other more and better, we started realizing, all right, we do got to get past the relational part of it. Because what brought us all together was our love for hip hop. That was a very good album. I died for this. I just remember the first time when I listened, because I listened to it probably a couple days after we got back from Austin. I was just like, but I'm gonna be honest, it struck me the same way that how a lot of hip hop strikes me. I was like, okay, this is good. This guy's passionate. But when I first started talking to Tig, they actually wanted to do Still Coffee, because at the time it was probably a year before Still came out, but they were getting ready to put that project together. And I was like, nah, bro, that's not it. It's like, why not, bro? It's the music that's dropping. We want to do a marketing playing around. I was like, man, but it's not about the fact that, like, get away from your current promotions of what you're doing. I think that all artists, especially hip hop artists in particular, like we drop music, let it circulate and resonate for a little bit, and then we move on to the next thing, right? This would be asking like Michael Jackson to just skip past all of his great music just so he could put out the next album, right? And so I died for this, because he had just done Snub Nose right before that. And he did something before Still. I don't remember what he did right before Still. Something, Five and a Fuck You, I think came out right.
Yeah, that came recently.
And so I was like, nah, bro, like, trust me, like, let's stick with your back catalog. Let's stick with the thing that's not circulating, that maybe don't have all the buzz anymore. Because I look at this as probably his best project.
Like Snub Nose, but I feel you.
Okay, but that's my point. I understand why you would say, I listened to Snub Nose after I listened to I Die. So I had a fresh perspective on it. When I said I thought it was his best project, I wasn't talking about his rap music per se. I was like, it was maturity as an artist to bring this situation together. It was maturity from Tig as a manager to bring that situation together. It was a higher form of overall hip hop. Yeah. And I was like, you don't want to skip that contribution in terms of Grip's contribution. It's always going to keep making music. But if I had to liken this to like Hov, like Volume 2, that was like, yes, he's went on to do like greater things, and he had some music before that, but that was kind of the one.
Volume 2 is that watershed moment where everything, you can't skip that moment. There's no Hov without.
There's no Hov. And I feel like it's very similar. Yeah. And so I think for artists, as they look to make their music last and to generate the greatest percentage of income for their music, they need to be looking to find that key project and to commercialize it a bit more. So then the conversation was like, yo, let's do the bag. I can tell you, one day we'll just do a strictly I died for this, so we can get into the nitty gritty of how it came about. It's been an interesting story. I've enjoyed it. I'm very thankful to these guys, Grip and Tig, man, because here you gotta understand, for Dope Coffee, we around here preaching, hey man, we this hybrid record label that do coffee and hip hop. But not a lot of cats had a vision to see.
Yeah, that's true.
We had talked to a lot of other cats. They're like, give me $100,000. I'm like, bro, how do I give you $100,000 on some shit I ain't about to sell $100,000 worth of? That's a lot of hip hop. A lot of hip hop has morphed into, they think that their stuff is just extremely valuable on day one. I'm like, well, bro, it's 100 artists with your same level of stature and notoriety. Show me how much money you made off merchandise last year. Oh, 4,000? All right, why you asking me for 100, bro? visionaries though, right? So that's the part that I'm gonna give to both of those fellas is that they see if I die for this coffee is gonna matter, it's not about it mattering today. It's actually about 6 years from now. Can this thing still be here? Like we're pitching it right now to the fresh market, right? I'm like, yo, can I die for this coffee exist in 340 of the nation's most high-end natural specialty food stores? If we can do that with hip hop, and also I just think it's something unique about the I Die For This album, the artwork, turning that into I Die For This coffee. We're asking two worlds to merge. The Spinach album, ours, was more convoluted. That was Stace and I, because it wasn't about just coffee and hip hop. That was us trying to lay a foundation for everything.
Right.
Whereas this one is a very narrow box of it. Like, no, guys, this is legit hip hop music. This is legit coffee. And let's not get into why dope coffee was created and what it's going to do 100 years from now.
This is real straightforward.
Very straightforward. Yeah. And it took the right combo. And I think, man, I think we're going to take this line somewhere. I'm going to put it out there. We're going to do an I Die For This Coffee Cafe. We're going to do some things, right, that are special with it. And it has to have that longevity for me to prove, to myself, that, yo, hip-hop has real value.
Yeah.
Because it's not valuable if it's here today, gone tomorrow. It's valuable when we always say, hey, man, white boy rock band from the 80s still touring on their same music.
Can demand the same fee.
Can demand the same fee in their 60s and 70s. We cannot let hip hop get turned into an 18-year-old man's game.
Right.
That's counterproductive for us as stewards of the genre, and that's why I said, well, you gotta really look at who's running hip hop, like who's the ones making these calls. I say primarily is white dollars. Well, what you're looking at now is when a black dollar is invested in the hip hop, that's what it looks like. It's something that's culturally elevated.
It's not a museum. It's not just gonna sit there and collect dust.
Yeah.
It's going to turn a dollar. It's
Yes.
going to bring a new audience to it.
Yes.
It's going to always grow.
Yes.
It's going to always grow fruit and it's going to reap, man.
And that's part of those 3 pillars y'all speak of. That's the black dollar right there.
That's the whole idea.
That's the
That's
black
the
dollar.
whole idea.
It's like literally, this man's essence turned into a physical product tied to something that's from his homeland. The story can't get no simpler and like straightforward and to the point. And in America, Black America, when we come to understand the economics, like I just said, pitching this to 342 stores.
Yeah.
The economics of that. Greg, you don't gotta go on
everything.
stage
Ever.
for that
Everything.
bag.
Ever, brother.
You get what I'm saying?
That's the retirement plan, brother.
It really is.
the
And these
yeah.
are things that like it hasn't been done yet, so it can be harder for some people to comprehend. Like there's never been a bag like this on a shelf in America.
We just need grip to be here in 20 years out. We don't put it already. All right, but we got grip at the table now. 20 years from now. All right, bro. This is what we about to do. This is the next thing. Yes, exactly. These are art pieces. Like I Die For This Cafe is an art piece, bro. It's an art piece.
It is because
you put it up and it's there now. That's a piece of hip hop. It don't just
not an activation.
There. Yeah,
because we can do an activation.
Yeah.
But we're
gonna do tons of that because we're gonna be getting the idea and the concept off, but then that thing gonna turn into a brick and mortar, and it might be, all right, man, we're doing 10 of these in this region right here.
Well, so now you're getting very deep into the disruptability of dope coffee. It's like, guys, I can go operate in the Bay Area with an independent artist on a signature line plus a cafe, and like, what does this look like? It don't have to look any different than what your Starbucks or your Folgers look like. It's just we're just injecting our own way of I don't want to just call it branding, marketing, and promoting it, but it kind of is. But it's since we are so passionate, like you said, you would give up age 16 to 25. You would give
it up, bro.
You would give it up. Imagine getting a reward. Imagine getting a reward. That's what I'm saying. Imagine getting a reward equal to what you invested.
Exactly.
We're just at the beginning of it.
I know. I give up the 10 now to see 5 I Die For This coffee cafes just sitting in the Bay Area. Come on.
And Dope Coffee's model, like I said, we call ourselves a label, but I'm like, you gotta look at, so once I put this cold brew bar in place, how I refinish it to a grip level I die for this finish, that's 3 or 5. It's an economic model behind this that's just very sustainable. It's already been, like I said, we're not trying to do anything by itself that's new or groundbreaking.
Yeah.
We're putting a few things together that have already been tried and proven, right? It's like anytime you build a big complex machine, you don't invent all the pieces that go to it. You take those from what already exists and then you make the new thing. So yeah, I think this is it. I think put my prediction on it. If we keep our heads together, folks do business right, you could look up sometime from now, and maybe folks don't know I Died for This, the album. And I'm telling you, this is what I think would be success for Grip, is for them to not necessarily know the album
From rap.
from, yes.
But to know on the other side of the equation as a business person.
Bingo. That's why I said Grip the executive now making the CPG level decision about that's where this ultimately should head. Why should we be separating the artist and creator, entertainer, entrepreneur, executive? Because that's all in one body. Why should we be separating that from the financial impacts? And that's what we got the ability to do, man. So.
And guess what? To bring it full circle, we gonna put up a GoFundMe for our first $5,000 for the cafe, bro.
Absolutely.
Man,
Gotta roll.